Back at the western riverbank, soldiers gasp for air as they struggle to drag the heavy steel beast through the biting wind. This is the first cry of the Industrial Revolution, suffocatingly heavy. Roland gazes at the artillery with pride, knowing the blood and sweat poured into it. Those soldiers complain of its weight. Roland knows this very heaviness forms the unyielding backbone of their defense. As for payment, Roland smiled slightly, to a witch thirsty for truth. These unprecedented mechanical marvels are a temptation far greater than gold could ever be. The loading process is meticulous: powder, projectile, compact, fuse. At Roland's sharp command to step back, the air freezes instantly, and hearts race in anticipation. The fuse burns down, boom. A thunderous roar tears through the sky, shaking the earth. Reflecting in young Lightning's wide eyes, death whistles through the air. The moment the shell hits, it's like a hammer shattering the world barrier. Ice cracks and snow erupts. Even Chief Knight Carter breaks into a cold sweat, realizing no mortal body could withstand this. As the smoke clears, Roland calmly inspects the massive crater. Range over a kilometer, power confirmed. This isn't just a success. It marks the dawn of a new era of warfare. But Carter points out a fatal flaw. It's too heavy for field maneuvers. Yet Roland remains confident. He has already devised a unique tactical role for this immobile destroyer. Roland excitedly outlines his grand plan: amphibious assault using ships and Windy's wind power. But turning to Barov, the reality of can't afford it splashes down like ice water, instantly extinguishing his fervor. Barov opens the ledger with a bitter look. Buying a ship means paying a crew too. The treasury is empty. Buy a ship? The army won't even get paid next month. The air grows heavy with their desperate reality. Can't afford the crew? Then just a ship. Roland frantically looks for a loophole, only to realize distant ports offer no relief, and the shipping costs are the straw that breaks the camel's back. Cornered, a spark lights up Roland's eyes. If we can't buy, we build. Ruling out complex wood and expensive iron, his mind locks onto a cheap, durable modern solution. A concrete boat. The crazy idea leaves Barov stunned. Explaining nothing, Roland issues an irrefutable command to build a shipyard by the river. An unorthodox project begins now. Soon, a strange colossus takes shape on the riverbank. Lightning, the young explorer, stares wide-eyed. Is this the prince's new bathtub? Her innocent jest leads to a proud revelation of her heritage. My dad is the famous Thunder. Lightning jumps excitedly, expecting awe. But Roland's blank, never heard of him, instantly turns the air awkward and comical. But 1,000 miles away in the impassable mountain range, the atmosphere is starkly different. The wind bites with no warmth as the witches of the Cooperation Association drag their exhausted bodies along the line of death. An alarm tears through the blizzard. Demonic beasts are approaching. Weakened Leaf struggles to fight, but the mentor guarding the rear can only grit her teeth and protect their last hope, eyes filled with anxiety. Despair breeds resentment. Kara, eyes bloodshot, blames all suffering on the traitor Nightingale. As she spits her venomous curse, a pair of crimson beast eyes light up in the storm, radiating murderous intent. The wolf pack attacks. In this life-or-death moment, the witches unleash their power. Vines entangle, air is sucked away. To survive, they must fight a desperate battle against bloodthirsty beasts in this frozen hell. On the blizzard-swept wasteland, Mentor Kara watches coldly as vines strangle a demonic beast. Despising the church, she believes witches are the true chosen ones, leading her people in search of the legendary Holy Mountain. Back in a frozen reality, the illusion of joy shatters. Leaf's eyes widen in terror as twisted silhouettes emerge from the snow. Not beasts, but true demons. Confront the enemy. Leaf roars, shielding her companions as green light erupts from her palms. From the shadows, red-eyed reapers emerge with two-headed wolves, approaching with suffocating menace. Leaf strikes the ground, her magic instantly turning frozen earth into a swamp. The charging wolves stumble and crash into the mire, their assault violently interrupted. But the crisis is far from over. A massive shadow descends like a nightmare, claws tearing through the blizzard, roaring lethally at the scattering witches, making retreat seem impossible. Screams pierce the night. Blood stains the snow. An armored Cyclops steps over bodies, his greatsword radiating death, casting a shadow of despair over the survivors. A scorching fireball erupts from beneath a skull mask. Terrified, two girls clasp hands and scramble backward, death chasing them in a flash of flame. fear making every breath a struggle. Shino attempts to fight back, but is instantly crushed by overwhelming force. The massive impact sends her flying like a broken kite, smashing heavily into the deep snow, silent. Demonic snake, Minterkara holds nothing back, summoning a violent purple energy serpent. Green vines and the purple snake intertwine, desperately binding the terrifying monster to turn the tide. Even bound by magic, the monster erupts with brute strength. Sweat pouring down her face, Leaf screams at her companions with every ounce of her being. Run, sisters, run. Before the warning fades, the armored warrior swings his halberd. Through the rain, the cold blade descends with thunderous force upon Leaf, trapped in her shield, shattering the ground. Purple light explodes, and as the dust settles, Leaf collapses in the snow, her fate unknown. In the distance, three witches watch, paralyzed by despair as their defenses crumble. The cruelty isn't over. Blue lightning strikes like a viper, instantly piercing the red-haired witch. She convulses amidst blood-curdling screams, in absolute agony. Meta interlude. Amidst the brutal battle, a message from the real world flickers briefly before being swallowed by the merciless blizzard. The blizzard rages, as if mourning the slaughter. The massive skeletal monster stands in the night, red eyes glowing, dark red energy pulsing like veins, a nightmare straight from hell. No. Covered in wounds, Leaf is hoisted into the air by the monster. Suffocating, she looks toward her only hope, letting out a desperate plea. Respected Minter. Minter Kara grits her teeth, forcing the magic snake to bite the monster's neck to save her ally. But suddenly, an eerie red fog erupts from the beast, impenetrable even to magic. The monster lets out an inhuman shriek within the red fog, as if suffering a violent backlash. Kara covers her mouth in horror, watching blood-red liquid seep from its armor. The situation has spiraled completely out of control. In the raging blizzard, red mist swirls as a companion falls in agony. Leaf's pupils dilate in horror, screaming as a monstrous figure slowly rises from the snow. A demon. Amidst despair, she spots a red glow through the armor cracks. A weakness. Swallowing her fear, she kneels in the snow, gripping her weapon with sudden, sharp resolve. For my sisters. Grief turns to power as she roars into the storm. The crossbow bolt screams through the darkness like a thunderclap, fueled by vengeance. The monster falls, red aurora illuminating the brutal aftermath. Exhausted, she collapses, surrounded only by cold bodies and a deathly silence. The adrenaline snaps. She tilts her head back, letting tears mix with the snow, and unleashes a gut-wrenching scream into the endless night. Meanwhile, in a warm room, Nana wakes from a nightmare, trembling as she asks if death is near. Roland and her father rush to her side, their desperate reassurances banishing her fear. Just moments ago, Nightingale had offered gentle comfort. It was a promise from experience. Survive the first bite of magic, and peace will follow. Now, in this room, filled with love, her father beams with pride at her strength, while the boys excitedly spin tales of adventure, trying to distract her from the pain. The noise earns a scolding from the father, but the mother simply steps forward. Amidst the chaos and warmth, she places a soft kiss on Nana's forehead. Stay alive, all right? As Nana endures the biting pain, the atmosphere elsewhere turns heavy. Roland and Nightingale sit in candlelight, waiting for destiny's judgment, every second stretching into eternity. To pass the grueling hours, Lightning spins wild tales, but Nightingale is exhausted. Roland frowns at the snowy window, pacing anxiously in a world without clocks. Suddenly, a rooster crows. Roland rips open the curtains, and blinding sunlight floods the room, the light of dawn, and the promise of life. It's daybreak. Cheers erupt as everyone gathers around the bed. Nana has survived the bite. The night's torture finally transforms into pure ecstasy. Looking out, Roland reveals the truth. Only constant practice tames the magic. Nightingale realizes with shock that this border town is the only true sanctuary for witches. Overwhelmed with gratitude, Nightingale tears up and pledges her life to his cause. Roland stands firm, knowing only the throne can truly protect these cursed souls. Days later, a behemoth appears on the frozen plains. Recruits gather around the concrete boat stranded on the ice, faces filled with confusion and curiosity. A pontoon, no, a boat. They bicker, pointing at the strange rudder and masts. unable to comprehend the prince's defiance of common sense. On the training ground, Vanner daydreams of promotions and marriage, earning jeers from his squad. Though they joke, it's their only warmth in the biting wind. But as he touches the cold barrel, Vanner's smile fades. Too heavy, immobile, aimless, can this clumsy hunk of iron really save them in the coming bloodbath? Amidst the swirling snow, a soldier stares at the distant turret, a chill running deeper than the cold. This weapon isn't meant for beasts, but for something far deadlier. Your Highness, they're fighting tooth and nail for that bonus. Roland merely smiles mysteriously at the soldier's awe, then drops the long-awaited code name. The concrete ship Littletown launches today. So Wendy's grueling training was to power this colossus. Before Carter can recover from a shock, Roland drops a bombshell, appointing the landlubber knight as its captain. Roland stands amidst the snow, his gaze piercing through the smoke. To the roar of cannons, he solemnly declares, "This witch-powered warship marks the dawn of a new era." An axe flashes, severing the rope. Lightning, the self-proclaimed navigator, raises her weapon high, her excited cry piercing the freezing wind. "Raise the sails. Set sail." Chaos reigns on deck. While Carter stands bewildered, Lightning is starry-eyed, bubbling with frantic curiosity about this concrete monstrosity and its patchwork beast-skin sails. The icy wind bites as the Titan cuts the waves. Lightning bounces around like a tiny commander, screaming full rudder right, leaving the nervous helmsman Brian completely bewildered. Commands dissolve into a comedy of errors. Watching the clumsy helmsman, Lightning finally loses her patience, clutching her head with a sigh. "Forget it. Just let me do it." Her petite figure leaps onto the wheel, surprised to find Roland has accounted for every detail, even safety rails. Even an experienced sailor can't help but marvel at the intricate design. Course corrected, Lightning shouts back in excitement. Wendy smiles gently, closes her eyes, and lets the wind magic surge from her palms. She is the true heart of this ship. Recalling Roland's advice, when he takes a deep breath, the breeze once used for drying clothes must now become a gale to move a steel Titan. Doubt fades, replaced by burning determination. A gale erupts. Green magical light instantly fills the sails, and the massive concrete hull groans against the ice, actually surging forward amidst the crew's shocked cries. Olpine stares, utterly dumbfounded, turning rock into a warship that cuts through the icy sea. Is the prince truly a god capable of anything? In just half an hour, the novice Brian steers like a pro, gratefully looking towards Lady Lightning. His imagination transforms the bouncing girl into a divine goddess, guiding them from above. But crisis creeps in silently. When he turns pale, cold sweat dripping, her body freezes from magical exhaustion, yet she bites her lip, holding on with sheer, desperate willpower. "Sister Wendy." Lightning's terrified scream tears through the storm. Wendy finally collapses, and Lightning rushes to her side like a madwoman, screaming for the ship to ground immediately. She was soaked in freezing water all along. Before anyone can check her injuries, momentum slams the bow into the rocks. With a deafening crash, ice shards fly, and the entire ship shudders violently. Carter acts instantly, ordering Lightning to rush Wendy back. Watching them fade, the acting captain looks grim. The ship survived, but the fatal flaws in insulation and shock absorption have been ruthlessly exposed. The howling wind masks the sins of this border town. Inside, screams are swallowed by the storm as a brutal interrogation unfolds. The whip cracks, sending orphans cowering in the corner. The gray-haired ambassador defines his twisted version of salvation through violence. The wheels crush the snow, but the conversation inside is colder than the winter. To the ambassador, these homeless orphans are nothing but merchandise to be traded for silver. In the dim carriage, the girls' fates are decided with casual cruelty. The ambassador's claim that God will pass judgment sounds more like a demon's whisper to its prey. The inn's lights cannot dispel the gloom of the night. Watching his subordinate cast greedy glances at the girls, the man at the window tightens his grip on his glass in disgust. A filthy hand reaches for a desperate girl. Just in this nauseating moment, heavy, cold footsteps shatter the silence of the stone steps. Meanwhile, deep within the holy city of Hermes, Bishop Maine stands above the abyss. A massive blue glow rises from the earth, a miracle beyond mortal comprehension. Passing through snow and guards, Maine approaches the sealed gate. Hidden in the bottomless depths lies the true heart of the church, the nucleus of Hermes. The gears of fate turn in the shadows, just as this promotional art suggests. turbulent undercurrents beneath a glossy surface, revealing a conspiracy about to surface. Eerie blue light illuminates the path to hell. Maine steps into the underground passage as the heavy iron door slams shut behind him, cutting off all light. This is a maze of no return. The intricate paths imprison not only the criminals, but also devour the remaining lives of the guards like a beast. Desperate wails echo through the corridor, a symphony of the innocent and the guilty intertwined. Maine glances sideways, his eyes reflecting a bottomless chill. The iron door creaks open. Maine addresses the once noble figure coldly. The so-called king's standard meal is nothing but the ultimate mockery for a prisoner. In the gloom, old eyes stare fixatedly at the food. Every grain seems to mock his current destitution and powerlessness as rage builds in the silence. "How are my children?" Wimbledon 3 screams, clutching the iron bars, his anxiety as a father instantly overriding his dignity as a king, begging for an answer. The cruel truth strikes like a blade. The eldest dead, the second a patricidal usurper, the daughter a rebel. Maine's voice is flat, yet every word pierces the heart, pushing the old king into the abyss. The old king finally realizes the fight for the crown was nothing but a slaughterhouse designed by the church. Rage and regret intertwine, forcing him into a violent coughing fit, helpless to change fate. "We don't have time." Maine reveals his hand. In the face of the church's grand ambition to unify the continent, mortal kingship is merely a stumbling block to be removed. Despair transforms into the most vicious curse. Collapsed in blood, the old king's crimson eyes lock onto the looming figure. "I will be waiting for you in the depths of hell." Maine's gaze is icy as he ruthlessly shatters the king's curse, revealing that their atrocities are solely for survival. Trapped in darkness, the king finally grasps the terrifying truth. Only by uniting the kingdoms through bloodshed can humanity stand against the true enemy. Having pronounced the king's death sentence, Maine turns and walks into the dim corridor, leaving the past behind. The old reign ends here. Though burdened with unforgivable sins, this sacrifice marks the brutal beginning of the church's new order.